The Hashimpura Massacre, 42 killed, no one did it. That's the question we want to raise. Is it the shame of India, one of the many shames of this country when it comes to mass crimes? Joining me now, Gaurav Bhatia of the Samajwadi Party, Rebecca John, who's been a lawyer for many of the victims and their families. Appreciate both of you joining us. Gaurav Bhatia, 22nd May 1987, PSC personnel of UP reach Hashimpura, take away 50 Muslim men from a crowd outside a mosque, shoot dead at least 42 of the men, throw their bodies into a canal. 27 years later, the Delhi court says, I give them the benefit of the doubt due to insufficient evidence, particularly on the identification of the accused. What does that say about our system? Rajiv Gandhi was in power then. Since then, Mulayam Singh has been chief minister, Mayawati has been chief minister, Kalyan Singh has been chief minister. But on the ground in UP, it appears that no one killed these 42 people.
I think the criminal justice system has failed the common man, and nothing can be said or done which would heal the wounds of these persons.
No,
because
after
27 years
forget
also,
the criminal justice system. What about the political class? At the end of the day, sir, as I said, from 87 to today, several governments have been there. Many of these police armed constabulary who were accused were out on bail, were immediately back into the service. And therefore, it appears that the UP government did very little to actually ensure that evidence was gathered to prosecute them.
Yes. Rajdeep, it is a very important question, and I would place what all governments have done, and then I would leave it for you and the viewers to decide. The incident happened in a Congress government in 1987, and in criminal law, the most important part, which is the foundation of any criminal case, is the investigation. For 2.5 years, the Congress government was in power, and the investigation was not completed, and CBCID was given the charge of doing investigation. In February 1994, after 7 years, when the SP government came to power, a report was submitted, and in February 1995, again, it was because of the SP government in power that a charge sheet was filed, though it was a very delayed charge sheet because the investigation itself took so long, and for that, the earlier governments would have to also do a lot of answering. Then, 2004 to 2006, after a delay of 2 years, when the BSP government did not appoint any special public prosecutors. It was again the Samajwadi Party government that appointed special public prosecutors, and charges were framed on 24th of May 2006, which was the starting point of the trial. Again, the SP government was in power at that time. Now, what troubles me and what pains me is, as I told you, the investigation itself was very shoddy. That is why the trial court had to say, the investigation, to give benefit of doubt to these accused persons.
The investigation is done under the supervision. Gaurav, just a minute. The investigation is done under the supervision of a state government. Yes, there's a question of evidence, and that's what I want to raise with Rebecca John, because what many people have said, including our correspondent, is that the court order, and I've got a copy now, which says very clearly that one of the reasons for lack of evidence is the police armed constabulary, which shot these people, 42 people. They had their helmets on their faces, so they could not be identified. Was there a problem in collecting evidence?
You know, there were 5 surviving eyewitnesses in this case. All 5 of them testified. And the court has found that the version given by the 5 eyewitnesses was credible, honest, and completely trustworthy. Now, the 5 men also testified that by reason of the fact that it was dark, it was in the middle of the night, the fact that they had been bundled into a PSC truck, the fact that the men were in uniform, they were wearing helmets, that was the reason why they could not have identified them. Indeed, if they had identified them, it would have been an absolute falsehood. So the fact that the incident took place in the manner in which we are all talking about right now is not in dispute. What has affected the quality of evidence in the case was the circumstantial evidence, the corroborative evidence which the state had to place. Now, when police officers commit a crime, it is not very difficult to place that evidence on record. After all, policemen on duty go from a police station to a spot In this case, they went to Hashimpura Mohalla. This is diarized. The number of people who left the police station, the kind of weapons they took, the kind of live cartridges they took, all of this is diarized.
So why did the case fail then?
They return.
So why did the case fail?
Well, none of this was produced before the court. None of this was produced before the court. You have a representative of a political party saying that they were responsible for filing the charge sheet in 1995. That charge sheet was, I'm afraid, a very, very weak charge sheet. It cannot be the duty and responsibility of victims to crack a case or to produce evidence. They can only say what is known to them. It is the responsibility of governments to produce evidence. And if you do not do that in a robust and sincere fashion, this is the result you will have at the end of 30 years.
Gaurav, that is precisely it. Look at the way charge sheets have been framed. You framed charge sheets that were, you claim that you stand to uphold the rights of the minorities. And the fact is 42 people die. 27 years later, no one is convicted. Mulayam Singh and Akhilesh have been chief ministers for a large part of this period. And the charge sheets that you filed were such that the police armed constabulary has got away. Rajiv Gandhi's government committed the initial crime by not acting on it in 87. Samajwadi Party has to be blamed. BJP,
Every government in this case has failed.
Every political party has failed the minorities of Hashimpura. That is the truth.
Absolutely.
Rajdeep.
Yes.
Rajdeep,
Yes.
let me just place a few facts. In all criminal cases, 2.5 years is a very long time to complete the investigation and file a charge sheet. And that is why I emphasized that from 87 to 89, when the Congress government was in power, they did not conduct the investigation properly and did not expedite the investigation. That is the crucial time to collect all the evidence. That is the time to take statements from the person.
You came to power in 89. You came to power in 89. The Congress government must also take responsibility. I am talking today on behalf of the innocent of the families today who feel betrayed. Rebecca John, you wanted to quickly intervene on what Gaurav Bhatia is saying.
And that is why Rajdeep...
let Rebecca intervene and then I'll get you. I'll get you to respond again.
I want to just complete my point.
I'll let you complete in a moment.
Let me make this point.
Yes.
Let me make this point. In the history of a nation, there are these very, very important cases, be it the 84 riots, be it the Hashimpura tragedy, be it the 2002 riots. The very least, at the very minimum, what the people of this country expect is a robust, sincere and absolutely above board investigation. By not doing so, you have failed the family members and the victims of this horrific tragedy. You've also failed the people of this country who are entitled to ask, where did all that evidence disappear? Why
are you saying the police and the politicians were hand in glove? Rebecca John, are you claiming the police and politicians are hand in glove?
You see, a crime of this nature, of this magnitude, look at the numbers we are talking about. It could not have happened if the politician was not hand in glove with the police officer. One protected the other. In the end, you presented a charge sheet which could not stand the test of judicial scrutiny. And that is why you have a result 28 years later, a slap on the face of those victims, those survivors who fought a lonely battle for 28 years.
You know, Gaurav, I'm going to ask you in conclusion. The fact is that this case had become a test case in a way to see if the Uttar Pradesh government was truly non-partisan. Since then, many riots have taken place. Many more people have died. The scars and wounds have still not healed. This was an opportunity. Will you say today and accept on behalf of the political class of India and possibly certainly of Uttar Pradesh that you failed the people of your state? You failed those 42, the families of those 42 people who died in Hashimpura. Are you willing to say and accept that you failed them today?
Rajdeep, cutting across all political parties, and I don't wish to, show the roles of the other governments that were in power from different political parties, but I would say that after 27 years, if these families are still looking for justice, it is time for every person, especially politicians, to introspect. However, I would also say that there is a right to appeal, and this is not the final court. The state government has the power to file an appeal. The judgment was not available, and as you just said that it is now available, we will examine the judgment. If there are any infirmities or legal lacunas, the state government would file an appeal, and the High Court and the Supreme Court would then pass the final verdict.
27
and we
years
hope
later.
we will be able to ensure justice to all these families who have suffered for these 27 years.
27 years, sir. 27 years is a very long time.
Rajdeep.
Yes, Rebecca, final word.
You know, you spend the better part of this program talking about the Supreme Court judgment pertaining to 66A, and while I'm a defender of free speech and I completely welcome that judgment, we are talking here of an even more basic right, the right to life. When 42 people are killed, it's not about free speech, it's a basic right to life. That people in uniform could have come to a village in the middle of the night, picked up 42 people and then brutally killed them and thrown them into a canal. That is called right to life. Constitutionally enshrined right to life. This is not about free speech. This is not about what one writes on Facebook or Twitter. This is something even more basic. And if we can't uphold those rights, we really do not have any right to call ourselves a constitutional democracy.
Those are strong words from you, Rebecca, John. And I think that case of Hashimpura will remain, as I said, the shame of India now. And it's not the only case. Several mass crimes years later have not seen enough convictions. Whether it's 84, whether it's 92, 93, whether it is 2002, and now Hashimpura has been added to this long list of crimes that have simply not resulted in enough convictions. Gaurav Bhatia, Rebecca, John, appreciate your joining us here on Hashimpura. The right to life. If free speech is important, much more important is the right to life.